The left hand ornament I'm going to teach you for Boil the Cabbage is probably the most common in fiddling, and it's the slide. You've all heard it. It's simple. You just slide. Now a slide can be big, it can be a half step, it could be a whole step, it can be as big as you want it. Typically they're about a half step or a minor second, and typically they go up, but a slide can go down, and it's really cool. If you can find a good spot to do a downward slide, it really gets the listener's attention when you do that. Mostly in Boil the Cabbage I use upward slides, and that's a good place to start. Once again, we have to learn the motion, so we will apply it to our scale. What we're going to do is play the upper octave starting on open A, and we're going to agree that every time we come to our second finger, we're going to slide it. Okay? So like this. And we'll do it on apple pie. Now slide. Okay, let's play that octave. 1, 2, apple pie. Now I chose second finger because it's easy, because there's a whole step there. That leaves lots of room for us to back up, wink, and do a slide, okay? But you should be able to slide on any of your fingers. So work on this sliding all 3 of your fingers. You can slide your pinky too, but for a starting point, start learning to slide all 3 fingers. Let me show you sliding some first fingers. So I had to start below the tape. And then try applying it to grasshoppers like this. You can even work on sliding every single finger. That would be an excellent etude. You wouldn't want to do that in a fiddle tune, but it's an excellent exercise to learn how to control your slides, how to fit them in with the bow rhythm. Okay, so work on that a little bit. And I'm going to show you where I like to add the slides in the melody now that we're on this topic. I use a lot of second finger slides because of that whole step, and because it just fits with the melody. It seems to fit in really well on the second fingers. Let me play the basic tune. I don't do it on every second finger. That would be too much, it would be too predictable, and it would get annoying. So start listening to other fiddlers and try to develop a sense of good taste. Where do those slides need to happen to make it the most fiddliest and most exciting for the listener, okay? That's where I like to stick the slides in. I don't even use first finger slides or third finger slides in my Boil the Cabbage version that I know of. I've never analyzed it, but I don't think I do. You're welcome to. You can do anything you want for fiddling. So that's where I fit them in, is mainly on the second fingers. So you can work on that a little bit. And next I want to talk to you about the chords for Boil the Cabbage. The chords for Boil the Cabbage are simple. There's only 3 of them: A, D, and an E7 chord. You don't need to worry about the 7 right now at all. Just remember A, D, and E. And the way that you fit chords in basically is, know that fiddle tunes are divided up into 2 big beats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, apple pie, 1, 2, 1, 2. And it's very important to keep track of the beat 1 and the beat 2, because usually when you get a chord chart, you're just going to see something as simple and basic as that. So let me show you how the pacing goes. Each of these lines represents a bar line. And this is very common for chord charts. So you'd go A chord, D chord, A chord, E chord, A chord, D chord, A, E, A chord, okay? So here's beat 1, beat 2 is empty because it's still an A chord. D beat 1, D beat 2 because it's the same chord. The only time you change on beat 2 is right there, so that's a little tricky spot. And you'd probably have to work on that to get your speed up to where you can make the changes in time. If a chord chart is hard for you to follow like that, then you can fill it in so that every beat is accounted for. A, D, D, A, E, E, A, D, D, A, E, A. It's that simple. If that makes it easier for you, then just fill in your chord chart like that. Okay, so that's how you read a chord chart. How do we do it? I have the easiest way that we're really lucky because we're tuned in fifths. What that means is if you can find an A, you can immediately create an A chord just by playing on 2 strings. So remember we have an A down here on the G string, first finger. Play that A, lay your finger across both strings, you've got an A chord. Doesn't matter if it's major or minor because you're skipping the third. You've just got the first note and the 5th note, and that works for major or minor. And it sounds cool too. So here's your A. Just roll your finger over. Now it's a little hard to learn to play fifths in tune on a violin, but just go for it and you'll find your way. You'll use your ears and you'll learn how to mash your finger just right to create a good fifth, okay? So if you can find that A and lay it across both strings and use your grasshopper bowing. That's a really good beginner's backup bowing to use, or you can use the apple pie bowing. It doesn't matter. So let's try the chords together, and I will flash the chord changes up on the screen for you so that you'll see them. What you've got to just learn how to do is get really fast at finding your root note, which is the name of the chord. So if you learn the notes of your G string and of your D string really well so that you can just nail them right off the bat, you'll be an excellent backup player. Okay, so let's try it with grasshoppers first. Every chord is going to have 2 grasshoppers until we get to the second to last bar. And you don't have the chord chart, but you're just going to have to be ready for a quick change there. And you can hit replay as often as you need to get this, to learn where that spot is, okay? Let's just quickly go through the 3 chords and how you're going to make them on the violin. You know how to make the A chord. Okay, I like it down on the lower strings because it's better for backup. But in an emergency, your obvious A on the violin is your open A. In an emergency, you could hit just the open A and open E. You could do that. It's just a little bit trebly. So why don't you learn it this way? Okay, and then a D chord is simple. It's just open strings. Okay. And then the E chord, where's your lowest E that you know of? First finger on the D string is my lowest E. So I'm going to put the first finger down and then I'm going to mash him over so that he's on 2 strings. That's an E chord. Okay, so let's go through them. Play an A chord, play a D chord, play an E chord, and play an A chord. Okay, now the chords that happen really fast is A, E, A, so you got to practice hopping. Okay, now let me show you one time through, then we'll do it together. It goes grasshopper, grasshopper. See how that goes? Okay, you ready to try it? Let's slow it down just a little bit. And do it with me. 2 grasshoppers on every chord. 1, 2, A, go. It's that simple, and it works perfectly with Boil the Cabbage. So give that a little bit of work, and you can play along with any of the YouTube versions of Boil the Cabbage, so you can practice backing someone up, unless you have a band of your own, and then you can take it to band practice and impress them. All right, now I want to talk about potatoes. Potatoes are the common term for the introductory notes before a hoedown begins, or before a fiddle tune begins. And there's a zillion different ways to do potatoes. It's like the call to the dance. It's like where the fiddler starts to saw on those potatoes. That's when the dancers start getting in their positions to get ready to get down and boogie. So the most common potato is the grasshopper. Okay, now for my Boil the Cabbage down, I do 3.5 potatoes. I go, and they're just grasshoppers. I do grasshopper, 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 pop. You don't have to do it that way. You can do 4 whole grasshoppers. It's just, I think it's harder to do it that way. So let me show you 4 grasshoppers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I just find it hard to do the last hopper, but you can do it. And my way, again, is... And it's personal preference, however you want to do it. Okay? So that's potatoes. Now let's talk about some of the ways that you can make this into a cool, fancy, advanced sounding hoedown.